And we're live. Hi, Gail.
Hi. Hello. Hi, Jason.
How's it going out there? Are you guys staying cool enough?
It's pretty hot. Pretty much if I want to do anything outside, I have to do it either early or late.
Oh boy.
It's like
It's got to be that time of year again.
yeah, it is. It's that really rough time of year. I feel like I have to water twice a day just to get anything.
Yeah.
Anything not to look sickly right now.
Pretty much.
Crazy. I asked a few people to share, but it might take them a few minutes to do that. But I have some people on text, huh?
So we'll just hang out and just BS for a bit.
Yeah.
Wait, I've got a chair over here that Mary can come and sit in if she wants to, but she's over
Hi,
there.
Hookah Homestead. Hi, Mary Tulsa Fox. Hello, Mary. Hello, Cool Gamer. How are you?
Oh yeah, let me look at. There's the chat.
There's the chat. No, I need to pull my phone up because it's more. What's the word? More current. There's the word.
Easier to keep track of things that way.
Yeah. Hello, Sewing for Joy.
Oh, there she is. Oh, she appeared for a second, and then she disappeared again.
Hi, Ellen. How are you doing?
So I keep track of it.
Okay.
I have this new diet drink that my friend Ellen brought over to me. I haven't tried it yet. She, I think I'm supposed to take it twice a day, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm already kind of trying to watch my weight. I know I'm always like off and on dieting.
Oh, this is the time of year you're supposed to be putting it on. Winter's coming.
I know. I'm having a hard time though. I'm kind of a stress eater, so when I get stressed, I just eat stuff.
Yeah, I'm a former smoker, so I understand perfectly. I mean, I spent so many years with that habit of having something in my hand and something in my mouth, and having something in my hand and something in my mouth. Whenever I first quit, I put on about 15 or 20 pounds right off the bat.
Because you were eating to compensate for the quitting. Yeah.
I had to do something with my hands and something with my mouth. And,
my mom, she smoked for years.
That's what I wound up doing.
She stopped probably 15 to 20 years ago, long time ago.
Good, yeah.
And she still has trouble though. Like she still has COPD, and she quit a long time ago. I would think that the effects would be gone by now, but
eventually, yeah, you would think so. But
hello, the Bud Fowls. How are you? And I don't think she's around any smoke, as far as I know, unless there's something I don't know.
I guess if the damage is already done, sometimes it can't be undone.
Yeah, maybe it was so many years, but she's one of those that would quit and then go back and quit and go back. She would do that, and
I quit a total of 3 times. I quit once in boot camp when I joined the Navy, and I started up immediately after we got out of boot camp. The first night out, it was beer and cigarettes, and there we go. I was back to smoking again, and then I quit. I quit cold turkey. When was this? 19. Maybe 90. No, this is maybe 95, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Somewhere 95, 96, 97, somewhere in that vicinity. I quit cold turkey for a while because I was taking judo courses, and doing judo and smoking wasn't really working out well for me, so I quit. And then I wound up starting up again.
Hi, Danny and Chuck. How are you?
And then a couple of years ago, my daughter convinced me to give up smoking again. And instead of trying cold turkey, instead of trying the pills, well, I mean, I've tried all of those at one time or another. But the thing that really worked for me, I still have it right over here. I got this thing, right? And actually, you've seen me use this before. And yeah. I am no longer using this. So I used this for about 2 years. It's a vaporizer, not one of those vaping pens, but this has the tank in it. It produces a large volume of vapor, so it actually feels like you're smoking something. You get that entire sensation. And then I just reduced the nicotine level over time, over 2 years, reduced the nicotine level to 0. And then I just put this away and I don't use it anymore.
Yeah, my mom actually used that Chantix to quit, which people said that they weren't able to do, but she did that, and she would write down when she smoked, and she just lessened it little by little by little along with the Chantix, and she finally quit it for good. So
I tried Chantix for a little while. I didn't really like the way it made me feel because it's actually an antidepressant that just the side effect is you don't want to smoke. But I also didn't want to do much of anything else. It was just
anything else?
it was a really blah, weird sort of feeling. I didn't really like it. Because,
hello, Hogbeer79. Hello, John with Hunting and Stuff with J&J.
Yay! So there's people coming in.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So we wanted to talk about gardening today, right?
Yeah. I noticed on your channel there's all these agroforestry means this and vermiculture means this. Can you go over some of that terminology with me? Give me a little crash course of vocabulary here.
Not a problem. Okay,
so I get very confused.
So agroforestry is a form of permaculture where we grow trees, but not in the sense of an orchard. We grow them in conjunction with other things. For example, we'll have plants in between the trees, so the trees aren't taking up the entire space, right? We also have space on the ground. So in between, we have a place where we can grow crops. This is called alley cropping. It's one form of agroforestry. You can also graze your animals in between the trees. So you have the trees providing shelter and protection, shade for the animals, and the grass is still growing in between them. But instead of having to go by with a mower to mow your grass in between your trees, your animals do this for you. That would be called silvopasturage. And then the third common form of agroforestry that you see is something called riparian. And in riparian systems, you have canals, channels, ponds, that sort of thing, water features, which you would be growing aquatic plants, fish, and things like that, and also serving as a source of water for your livestock. And then you would have the trees on the banks holding everything together. Yeah, like they used to do at Mexico City. Well, there's a spot in Mexico City that's still around from the old Aztec days that they called the Chinampas. And then in the Chinampas, they took a section of the lake that's around Mexico City, and they drove willow stakes into the ground. So they're living willow stakes. And then they brought in the soil from the bottom of the lake bed, which is fairly shallow, and built up soil in between those willow stakes. As the stakes continued to grow because they were still alive, they formed the trees that held everything into place. So you have this really nice productive system where everything that you needed was all really close together.
Kind of like you're planting the trees around and you're putting like a garden in between it, kind of like? Yeah. Is that kind of how it is?
Yep.
Hello, Keith Hendrickson, Family Farm.
We're attempting to mimic the way a natural forest occurs. Whenever you go out and you walk around and take a look at a wilderness area, you'll see how forests grow naturally. They have large trees over the top of everything. This is the canopy. But there are other trees that grow in the shade of those larger trees. So these are called an understory. That's 2 layers of things growing. But this isn't all that is in there. Also underneath that, you've got bushes and shrubs. Those are a little bit lower. They still manage to grow. Underneath the bushes and shrubs, you've got your herbaceous perennials or herbaceous plants, which are not quite as big, but they're not close to the ground. Things that are close to the ground are called ground cover. So that's 5 different layers of things growing on top of each other. And then you have a 6th layer, which is the vines that move through everything. And in between all 6 of these layers, the forest manages to capture every amount of energy coming in from the sun that it possibly can. And so all of this energy is going into that system. It's so much more productive than what we do in conventional agriculture, where we plow up the ground and plant a row of something or just a field of one thing. In the forest, you've got 6 things, all photosynthesizing at the same time. Your typical forest garden actually has 7 layers, though, not 6. And the 7th layer, of course, is the fungus that is in and around everything. So you've got fungus in the soil breaking down the organic matter to produce fertility for the future. And then you've got fungus that's involved in the plants themselves. They're I know it sounds crazy, but inside of every plant that's out there, there are fungi that live inside the plant. They're called phytofungi. And if you were to remove all the tissue that was plant from any plant, there'll still be an outline, a skeleton of the fungi that's left behind. They're so involved in everything. So we try to look after all 7 layers and try to get something going on in every single one of those layers in agroforestry.
Danny's talking about you here.
Fungus
I have a moderator. If you will put up Green Country Agriculture's link in the chat, and then throw some of the other ones up as well.
I'm a horrible moderator.
Are she though?
I don't know anything about it.
Mary says she's a horrible moderator.
Oh, a horrible moderator. Do I have her as a mod? Yeah, I do.
I'm laughing at fungus jokes, sorry.
I do have her as a mod. I have Ellen as a mod too, but I don't think she knows how.
Gotta have my peach soda. All right.
I'm drinking some tea because I needed a little bit of caffeine. So this is just the easiest mug I could find.
I got a little bit of
First thing available. I was like, I need some kind of caffeine. I was feeling kind of tired. We were watching TV before, and I was like, I'm feeling tired. So my nickname for Jason is like the smartest guy I know, because he knows a little bit. Well, no, he knows a lot about a lot of different things. So if you guys have any gardening questions or any other kind of questions like that, if you'll put them
I know
in
how to use Google really well.
You Google really well. Let me tell you, if you don't know what you're talking about, you're sure good at making it sound like you do.
I can really sell it, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
One of the wonderful things about living in the age that we live in, we live in an age of wonders. Right now, anybody, well, almost anybody in the world can sit down at their desk or just on the device that they hold in their hands and ask a question. Any question you can imagine, ask it, and you can get an answer. It may not be the best answer, it might not be the truth, but there's going to be an answer there for you. And in a lot of cases, there's going to be 10,000 answers, and you just sort through them until you find the one that seems to make the most sense. But we have that ability, that all this technology right at our fingertips. We used to have to go to the library. Whenever I got out of the Navy, I wound up in Tulsa, which is, well, I grew up in Bixby, which is a little south of here. But I wound up in Tulsa, stayed at the YMCA right across the street from the Tulsa Public Library.
Thank you, Danny.
And so for about 7 or 8 months before I moved away from downtown and got my own place that was not the YMCA, I would go there every single day and just hit the library and study as much as I possibly could about whatever question I had in my mind at the moment. And I always ask questions. And
what did you do at the YMCA?
That was where I had my room at.
Oh, you had a room there.
Hi,
how do you say that? Rana International. Welcome. Hello, Nancy, our treasured home. So I left home at 17 years old, and I had a roommate, and that didn't work out. And so I ended up living in the YWCA for a year, maybe, when I was younger. Yep. So that's why when you say that.
It's an inexpensive, can't talk. It's an inexpensive place to live. I had my separation pay from the Navy, which was, it wasn't a whole lot, but it was a little chunk for me to live on until I figured out what I was going to do with myself. And it was the cheapest way that I knew of off the top of my head that I could have a place to stay, and that was covered. And that gave me the opportunity to look around and see what was going on, do some independent study, and explore my options and stuff like that. So but now you don't have to go to the library every day if you want to find answers to questions. You just type in what do you know? What do you want to know? Do you want to find out about this? Find out about it.
I know, it's nice. There's
so much more that we can do with the tools that are disposable than post funny videos of cats.
Yeah. I know. I love it. I love being able to just research something. You want a recipe? I worked at this place, this doctor's office, and there were these girls those girls didn't like us, right?
Right.
So they had this dip they used to make, and they would never tell us what was in it. Hello, Google.
Right.
So I just looked it up. So one day I decided I was going to make it to show you I don't need your recipe. I got Google. So there you go.
Yeah.
And I still make that recipe to this day. I guess I'm a little ornery, a little rebellious. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Hey,
I'm very sweet, but sometimes when people try to tell me what to do, I'm not real good with that. You know, I'm ornery that way, but I'm very sweet. I mean, I help people and I try to be kind and try never to be mean to anybody. I'm never, ever mean to anybody on purpose, unless you're mean to me first.
On purpose.
Yeah, if you bite me, I only bite when bitten. That's the way I say it. And yeah, that's how I say it. I only bite when bitten.
Well, Mary likes to yell at the other cars on the road whenever she's driving. I'll be talking or be talking with her on the phone, and she'll say something like, "Who are you talking to?" Because she's yelling at the other cars on the road because they're behaving erratically or driving unsafely or something of that nature. And
Your smartphone is out.
and her smartphone is out. And I'll tell you, they can't hear you, right?
So when you guys go places together, does she drive or do you drive?
I do the driving whenever we're going together.
Okay, so she drives all the time, so she drives for a living. Whenever she's home, she doesn't want to drive the other times. That makes perfect sense. That's what I was thinking made the most sense, but yeah.
In any case, so a lot of the times, whenever she's yelling at the other drivers out there, it's like, this guy's being a jerk. They're being a jerk. It's like, go easy on them. They don't realize they're being jerks. Most of the time, when somebody is being a jerk, they're doing it thoughtlessly. They're not intending to be a bad person. They just weren't thinking. Mm-hmm. And whenever they see you, pounding on the horn and yelling and shaking your fist and making hand gestures and things like that. Yeah, you do.
I keep on 10 and 2.
10 and 2.
If you want to work in your day,
whenever they see that, they think that you're the jerk, right?
Yeah.
Because they thought never crossed their mind that they were cutting somebody off or they were following too close or they were doing something.
We're all being selfish and trying to get where we're going.
Yeah.
And we're not thinking about the other person, trying to get where they're going as well.
Now, being selfish and self-absorbed might be a form of evil, but it's not intentionally malicious. Is what we're
No, it isn't. You're hyper focused on what you're trying to do, and until someone complains or gripes at you, you don't realize,
Right. And even then, depending upon the way that complaint is presented, it may not register that they were the ones that were doing the wrong thing in the first place, right? Billy.
Yeah, he does, Billy. Hey, Billy, how are you?
Oh man,
I just started seeing Billy around about a couple weeks to a month ago. He started coming around again. I guess we all have our
when was it? Not
ups and downs.
Not last year before last. I took a break and I said, okay, I'm not going to do any YouTube for a while. Yeah, I did it and I was like, I'm going to just drop out and work on what I need to work on here, because really, gardening is not hard. But putting a camera into the picture and doing everything with the camera makes everything more complicated.
Especially when you're by yourself, being your own cameraman. Being your own cameraman for just sitting in front of it is easy. But when you're trying to videotape yourself gardening, it's difficult without help. It's hard.
Especially getting audio right? Like anytime
I videotaped a whole entire video the other day. The whole thing of my hands doing something like a craft on my crafting channel.
Right.
And there's no audio at all. I had to redo the whole entire thing. I was like,
Oh. Well, at least if you were doing where you have the first person view and you're seeing your hands, you could always just do a voiceover.
I thought about doing that, but I have a cat that's in heat, and
Oh yeah.
I could just see me trying to retape it with her going crazy. Hello, Sandy at Suburban Homestead, Wyoming. How are you? Anyway, she is going in on Tuesday to get fixed. So finally she'll stop her crying. She's driving me insane, just rubbing all over everything. I'm like, stop. Yeah.
I think that's the only time that our cat really likes Mary is whenever she would eat.
She likes everything and everybody. She rubs all over everything. And her brother's already fixed, so brother just thinks she's insane. You're in Indiana? Oh, I didn't know you were in Indiana, Hookah Homestead.
Yes, and we Wisconsin.
Oh,
Huggy.
yeah.
Huggy Homestead. How do you say that?
I've been told how to pronounce it before, but I don't recall off the top of my head. Huga, I think is how it is.
Like who?
Oh,
Is it?
I think when they put the pronunciation in there, it looked like Hooga to me, like Hooga or
Something like that.
yeah. In the pronunciation, to me, it looks like Hooga. And the other channels say it that way too. It's
Hello.
I don't know. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Am I saying it right, Hookah Homestead? I've heard people say Hyde Homestead. I definitely know that's not right.
It's not, yeah, it's not supposed to be height. Higgy. It's Higgy. Yeah, it's a Huga. Yeah, okay, yeah. Huga. A Huga.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, Fishing the Dot. How are you? Yeah, I thought about doing some fishing this weekend, but I did not.
Oh, now Billy was saying that's free education for now. Well, it's there's ads, and the videos are going to be available. I'm not going to put things behind a paywall. If there is something that channel members only channel members can watch, it's probably going to be something that's off topic. So anything related to gardening, it's always going to be free.
Yeah.
Other than you have to watch an ad.
I didn't even realize your channel had gotten to 7,000. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think it's over 7,500 today.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And this really kind of blew up over the past, I think this May, end of April. So this past month, it went from 3,000 up to 7,000 over the course of the month, and it's still going up.
I'm guessing it's just your really I'm guessing it's just your really awesome gardening content.
Well,
Your gardening knowledge.
the most viewed video actually is it's that one that I did for Shed Wars the first year with the barrel composting using wood chips and urine. And I get the impression that a lot of people are watching that because they want to learn how to make potassium nitrate for something other than fertilizer. But that's not really the reason why I made the video. But that's the one that seems to be getting the most views. And I guess right now, when people are searching that topic, fertilizer, nitrates, how do I get this stuff? That's what's showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So make videos on making fertilizer; they'll be popular.
Making fertilizer.
So we mentioned vermicomposting a little while ago.
Yeah.
Since this would be a nice segue to that. Vermicomposting is using worms for composting.
Okay.
It's just running a worm bin. The
I
method
thought about doing that. I never did follow through.
Do it. You should absolutely grow some worms. The method that I use is really simple. I take a couple of tough totes, those big 27-gallon plastic totes, drill holes in the bottom of one, and drill holes in the lid of the other. Then I'll put a couple of bricks at the bottom to separate the two totes from each other. So I have a bottom one down here to capture all the liquid stuff that comes out the bottom, and then I put the tote with the holes in it here on top of the bricks. Fill it with whatever bedding material I'm going to have in there, and then I cover it with the lid that has the holes in it. bedding material I use is sifted wood chips. So I'll go down to the green waste site and I'll get the wood chips ordinarily I take out and I use for my walkways and mulch and stuff like that. And I'll run them through a 1/4 inch sieve so I get all the really fine stuff out. And that really fine material is what I use for the bedding. So whenever the worms are finally done breaking all that down, you've got all of the calcium that's in there from the wood, all the phosphorus, all the potassium, and of course the worms, as they're munching away on whatever it is that I'm feeding, they're producing organic matter, nitrogen, and stuff like that. So it's really, really, really good fertilizer being made by these worms as they dispose of my kitchen scraps and stuff like that.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, Passamaquoddy. How are you?
It's about, I think they're running $15 each for those totes, $30 for your worm bin setup. Probably.
I have a box of May's Homestead Chronicle. I was talking with him about doing that a while back, and he had sent me a box of goodies, and I still have it. It's still there. I still have it, but it was all the stuff I could just, put in there, the bedding and stuff that you would use. And so I was watching the videos and I was learning how to do it, and I never did ever actually follow through and do it. But you know what drives me? What's funny? The worm tea and the bunny brew. It's like, I'm pretty sure my tea does not taste like worms. And I wouldn't drink it if it did.
Okay, guys, there's a worm tea, bunny brew, compost teas are just a way of getting your nutrients for your garden in a liquid form, so you can either foliar feed with it, or you can water with it. Watering with water that has your fertilizer in it, it's called fertigation. So irrigation and fertilizing at the same time.
Are they trying to trick us into drinking worm poo or bunny poo? Are they trying to trick us?
No.
That's just funny that they call it that. At the first, I didn't know what they were talking about. I thought the Indiana Backyard Gardener had some kind of really cool tea that she thought was so cute. She'd just call it bunny brew.
Oh, Adrian's great.
Then later on, I started asking questions like, oh, she does not mean tea.
So, yeah. All right. So rabbit manure. Let me back up. Okay. Most manures that we can get and put on the garden. Manure is great for your garden. Most of them require a bit of time for them to break down and be usable. Otherwise, they're too hot. You're going to burn your plants with the excess of nitrogen in them. But worm manure and rabbit manure are both ready to go as soon as they're made. So if you've got access to rabbit manure, it's great stuff. You can put it out on the garden directly. Same thing goes with the worm castings. When they start making cow coffee, we'll really be in trouble.
Oh, Billy. That's the first thing I remember about Billy in the comment section. I kept seeing him in the comment section of Macro Farmers Lives, and I was like, who is this Mr. Funny Man here, always making the jokes? Then finally, one night, he just came up on the live, and I was like, this guy is hilarious.
All right. See, worm manure and rabbit manure. Those are the two that you can put out directly. They don't need any time to decompose before they're ready to go.
Cold compost, they call it, right?
Well, no, cold compost is a little bit different. Cold compost is where you have a compost pile, but instead of trying to get it to hit the heat phase and finish quickly, you just allow it to compost slowly over time. So if I've got a pile out there that's a static pile that I'm not turning, that would be a cold compost pile. Essentially, you just pile the stuff up, let it sit there. It'll rot down on its own. It may not be done in a week or two, but it'll get done eventually.
Yeah.
Anyway, manures. All right.
What's that?
Yeah, I've got. I'll talk about that in a minute. All right. At the moment, if you're going out and finding manure for your garden, you have to be careful because there's an herbicide that's being used, several different brand names, but they're all essentially the same thing, called aminopyrrolin. It's a persistent broadleaf herbicide that farmers are using, ranchers are using to get rid of things like Canadian thistle, red-rooted pigweed, those sort of plants that appear in their pastures. Not just in the pastures where the cattle are grazing, but in hay fields as well. Ordinarily, these particular plants are serving a purpose in the ecosystem. They're trying to do something. In the case of the pigweed, that's trying to mine phosphorus from the soil and bring it up, or the subsoil, and bring it up to the surface to make the soil healthier, and also break up compaction, which you have whenever you have a lot of cattle grazing on the same spot for an extended period of time. Most people are overstocking their cattle, and then they wind up with compaction issues because the cattle are just stopping on the ground over and over and over again. Canadian thistle also helps alleviate soil compaction issues. So if they were not to do anything at all about those plants and just let them grow and do what they were doing, eventually the numbers of these plants, Canadian thistle and pigweed, will diminish because they're no longer needed anymore. The conditions that make them want to grow won't be there. There'll still be a couple around here and there, but they won't be a problem. But instead of doing what they should do, which is move their cattle and allow the land to rest and recover, they spray chemicals on it to get rid of those particular weeds. And the persistent broadleaf herbicide that is being used doesn't break down whenever it passes through the gut of the cow. So it comes out the backside of the cow, and the manure now has that herbicide in it. If you take that manure and you put it on your garden, your tomatoes die, your beans die. Everything that isn't a grass dies. The plant will sprout, it'll come up, it'll put on its initial leaves, everything looks fine. And then whenever it goes to put on its true leaves after that, it'll start coming out twisted. So if you see your plants starting to look twisted and gnarly and something looks like something's wrong with them and they're not grasses, there's a good chance that you may have gotten a hold of some of that herbicide in your system somewhere. So it can come in through the manure. It can come in through hay if you're using hay as a mulch. So I'm not saying don't use manure. Just be careful about where you get it. Make sure that whoever is supplying the manure and whoever is supplying the hay or straw that you're using is not using that persistent broadleaf herbicide. But of course, worms, don't have to worry about worm manure having herbicide in it. Usually you don't have to worry about rabbit manure having herbicide in it. And there's other things that you can do as well. For example, alfalfa makes a pretty good fertilizer because it's high in nitrogen to begin with. Like clover, alfalfa has an association with bacteria at the root level, forms those little nodules of nitrogen that are available to the alfalfa. And of course, whenever you cut it or mow it, some of those roots die off and drop those nodules into the ground as well. So they fertilize everything around it. And alfalfa also has growth hormone in it that's useful for accelerating the growth of your plants. And alfalfa, being broadleaf, it's a forb, not a grass. It would be killed by broadleaf herbicide if broadleaf herbicide was being used. So you don't have to worry about contaminating your garden with that either. I recommend growing your own alfalfa. Just plant it on the borders outside everywhere. The outer edge of your garden, you might have 2 or 3 feet from the fence line to where your garden starts. Just plant alfalfa out there. Whenever the rabbits come in from across the road or wherever they're coming from, the first thing they're going to see is that alfalfa, and they think that they've made it to heaven, and they will not invade the rest of your garden. They'll be too busy eating the alfalfa.
That's a good plan. I think, hello, Lisa, the Grammy Scattered. How are you? I think Jason's asking a question about composting.
Okay. He's saying, Jason, when is the best time to compost dress a bed? What's perfect if you think about starting one? Okay. So we're talking about when's the best time to either apply compost or fertilizer if you're using commercial fertilizers. If you have to use commercial fertilizers, use commercial.
How bare bones living.
But the best time, there are several times actually to use fertilizers, and I covered this in a video called Fertilizer 411, talking about what's top dressing, what's side dressing, what are those NP and K, and what are they doing for your plants. All that stuff is covered in that, but just very briefly, every time your plants engage in a new cycle of their lifespan, when they enter into a new stage of their life, that's a good time to apply additional fertility. So after your plant has sprouted and is now producing true leaves, you can add a little bit of fertilizer. Add a little bit of fertilizer of some sort, whether it's compost tea, or even some of that the commercial fertilizer. You can use that too. That's a good time to apply it. Whenever it goes to flowering, that's another good time to add more fertility. Phosphorus is what you want to add at the time that they start to flower, and then whenever they begin setting fruit, you want to add fertilizer as well. Oh, and Mary posted that video there. All right. Let's see. What about manure from Home Depot style stores? Sometimes you do wind up with contaminated manure from the box store. They make it a very concerted effort to get manure that is safe, but sometimes it still happens that some will manage to get through. So what you want to do whenever you get your manure from the box store is take it home, take your knife out, cut up in the bag, pull it out, and take a few beans, plant those in there, give them a little bit of water, and wait a few days. Whenever the bean plant pops up, which should be within 2 or 3 days, and then it starts putting on its true leaves, you can tell really quickly, are those leaves getting all crinkly and something's wrong with the plant, or are they coming out normally? If they come out normally, then your manure's fine. Go ahead and use it.
That's a good test. That's a very good test.
Right. And then Billy was saying, is it safe to water with chlorinated tap water on old, new plants? Thoughts? Oh, yes and no.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yes
Hello,
and no.
all around, Sarah. How are you?
It really depends upon how concentrated that chlorine or chloramine is in the water that you're using in your tap water. So where I live, I'm about maybe 2 or 3 weeks away from the water treatment plant, from the Tulsa water treatment plant. So if I'm using city water, which we do have, we got city water, we don't have city sewer here. If I'm using the city water, it's been outgassing for a long enough time that there's not really going to be any chlorine in it, and I can get away with using it. Well, I don't know. Since they put that 6-inch water main in, that it might cause it to get here a little bit quicker. We were on 4-inch pipes before, so I might have to rethink that position. If you have any doubts or concerns about whether or not your microbiome is going to be harmed by using the tap water, just go ahead and decant the tap water. I mean, just pour it out into a bucket or collect it in a bucket and let it sit in a 5-gallon bucket overnight is usually sufficient for the chlorine to outgas, and then you'll be okay using it.
Yeah, I've heard that about bleach. That if bleach sits for a year or 2, it turns back into water.
Yeah, most of the chlorine molecule winds up evaporating out, and it's no longer usable as bleach. But overnight, 24 hours or so for a 5-gallon bucket should be sufficient to make it safe. If you have any concern at all that it might damage the fungi that you're trying to encourage to grow in your soil, or the bacteria that you're trying to encourage to grow in your soil, because this is what happens at the root level of the plants. Fungi and bacteria are responsible for actually gathering those nutrients that the plant needs and taking them to the plant. Why do they do that? Well, they want sugars, and the plants are sending sugars out through their roots to feed the fungi and the bacteria. So it's a symbiotic relationship going on in the soil. And
so that's why it's bad to water with chlorinated water. It's killing your fungi that you need. Yeah, well, that's good.
Against using chlorinated water.
It's good to know that. I mean, because when somebody tells me don't do something, I also want, as a curious person, I want to know why. So it's good to know why. Why? Well, why?
So come to me without why. This is the most important question.
And then, like kids, when they're asking you questions, if you don't tell them no, but then also tell them why, they're still going to do it because you didn't give them a reason why not. This is why not.
Right?
Huh?
Yeah. You haven't properly educated them, so they have to go find out for themselves.
Exactly.
Okay. Jason, is soil temperature indication in spring of when to plant versus air temperature coming out of winter? Always go with your soil temperature, not the air temperature. Get your. Oh, I don't have the thermometer right here anymore. I've moved the grow tent, and I used to have a thermometer sitting right there. But grab your soil thermometer, pop it in the ground, and check your soil temperature. Try to be consistent every day. Say 8 o'clock in the morning, check it at about that 8 o'clock in the morning every day. And then whenever you've got the right soil temperature to begin planting, you can go ahead and start planting.
I have a little wild pumpkin section in the back of my garden where I just let the pumpkin die there. And also on top of all that, there was the chicken massacre of 2021.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
We planted those chickens out there. And so between letting them die within themselves, and the pumpkins and the gourds are going crazy back there. I think I threw a couple of glass gem corn back there just to see if it would grow, and a couple of sunflowers.
Cool.
Such a little wild section, and it was going really wild back there. But it will. I've had that happen by accident where I just let it disintegrate on the ground, and then it would start growing the next year. Well, this time I did it on purpose.
Yay! Well,
Yay.
yeah, that's a lot of fun, and also you can do some experimentation and find out what kind of plants are so excited to grow in your area that they will plant themselves for you. And the more plants that you can get that want to plant themselves, the happier I am. I've got some cherry tomatoes that have been growing without me having to plant them for about 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, tomatoes. I had tomatoes come up.
Just go around whenever I spot one coming up. I go, oh, that's one of those, and I'll break out the hori knife and pull it up and transplant it to where I want it. Because
that's what I did.
They always volunteer where I don't want them, but they've already got themselves started. And if they want to grow, then fine, I'll move you to someplace that's appropriate. Let's see.
That happened to me too. Tomatoes. My tomatoes were in sunflower. I had a bunch of sunflower volunteers.
I've got tons of sunflower volunteers. Well, mainly because of the bird feeders. I put sunflowers in the bird feeders. I recently changed the bird seed mix, and I no longer have milo or millet in my bird seeds. No more grass seed. It's all sunflower and safflower. Those two seeds, and then I might mix in a little bit of peanut during the winter, so that the birds that need that extra fat content can get the extra fat. And that's my number one insecticide. My number one insect control is wild birds. And they work for sunflower seeds and safflower seeds. And you can sprinkle those around and grow your own, which we're doing now. I don't know if I'm growing enough to feed all the birds that want to come eat here. but we're growing a large number of those. They're pretty to look at. It's a flower. Safflower is another oil seed that you can use with an oil press that I don't have within arm's reach.
I have black oil sunflower seeds for the chickens, right. And they will grow really easy.
Yeah. And very easy.
They don't put out one sunflower. They do sunflower. There's like 6 heads to the thing or more.
All right. So this little gem here, it's missing the little lamp that goes here to heat up the barrel, and there's a spot here at the top for the hopper where you pour your seeds in. But this is an oil press. It's a manual oil press. We got this. When was that? 2000.
First or second of Biden administration.
I think it was 2008. We got it. Yeah. Way back. Way back. Back then, this was about $89, $90. Now they're a bit more expensive, but an awesome thing to have. You're going to need cooking oil. You're going to want salad oil. You're going to want to be able to produce your own oil. Peanut butter. Want to be able to make peanut butter? This will crush the peanuts, release the oil, and give you the ground up peanuts as a byproduct. You just mix the amount of oil that you need into it to make your peanut butter, and the rest of that oil is cooking oil. So safflower makes a really good salad oil. You can press it with one of these. Some black oil sunflowers, of course, they're oil sunflowers, and that also makes a good cooking oil. If you happen to live someplace where you can't grow olives, for example, and really easy to grow. Both of those are really, really easy. They'll volunteer on their own whenever the bird knocks some of the feed out of the feeder. But all you have to do is just sprinkle some around here and there, and then you've got all these flowers popping up. Flowers are pretty, and of course they produce a useful product too. Billy was saying, what's the purpose of hybrid seeds and plants? Usually a grower will hybridize a plant because they like the characteristics of both parents, and they want to try to get a combination of those two parents' genetic characteristics to appear. And so they'll crossbreed two different varieties and go, maybe we'll get lucky and we'll have something that has the best qualities of either parent, and you've got a new vegetable or a new flower or a new whatever it is that you're trying to grow. Initially, whenever you crossbreed a couple of plants, as long as they're of the same genus, whenever you initially crossbreed them, the seed that is produced will, whenever it goes to seed, as long as it has crossbred with another member that has got the exact same hybridization, will either be like the mother, 25% of the chance, like the father, 25% of the chance, or like that new hybrid, 50% of the time. And if you do this usually about 3 or 4 generations, you can stabilize that hybrid, and then it becomes an open pollinated hybrid, which means it's still able to produce and everything else.
I have a question about hybrid seeds to ask on his question. Hybrid seeds, are they like if you were to do a hybrid seed, wouldn't it mostly grow in your area in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Or would it grow just as easily if you mailed it off to Massachusetts or Florida or something?
I'll get to that in just a second. I'll make sure you cover it. All right. So after a few generations of taking your hybrid and breeding it with the same hybrid over and over and over again, you can stabilize the hybrid, and now it will not have that chance of producing 25% like the mother plant, 25% like the father plant. It'll be true to type. If enough people like growing it, then eventually they'll start calling it an heirloom. See, all heirlooms are hybrids. They're all hybrids. They're just stabilized hybrids, and they've been grown and have been stable for an extended period of time. All right, so you were asking about if you were growing a plant, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a hybrid plant. If I take a bunch of seeds and scatter them out in my yard and I grow a whole bunch of the same thing, some of these are going to germinate and some of them are going to grow. Some of them are going to germinate, some of them are going to grow, and some of them aren't going to grow. Some of them are going to grow really, really well, and some of them are not going to grow quite so well. The ones that really like to grow here in my yard, if I take those and save the seed from those, then I'll have better quality plants the next year and better quality plants the year after that and the year after that. So ideally, we should all be wanting to save as much of our own seed as we possibly can, because the seed that we save is going to be so much better adapted at growing where we are than the original. It doesn't necessarily mean that they won't grow well in other places. I mean, if you can get something to grow well in northeastern Oklahoma, then there's almost no place on earth that it won't grow well.
So is that why my zinnias grow for me, but when I send them to other people, they don't grow as well?
Yeah.
Because I wondered about that. I'm like, why is it that the zinnias grow for me, but when I mail them to other people, they can't get them to come up? I'm like, I'm going to stop mailing those to people because they're only growing for me.
Yeah.
Hello, Over Garden.
Your zinnias have become what's called land raced. They're now adapted to growing in the conditions where you're at. And I got a strain of butternut squash called Ponca butternut squash from NE Seed Company. That's Northeast Seed out of Connecticut. And I really liked the idea of having a butternut squash that grew very, very short vines. So it has 6 to 8 foot long vines, instead of having the usual Waltham butternut, which goes for 20 or 30 feet and just takes over everything. It's like, I want these kind of compact, maybe not exactly a bush, but small and manageable. And so I got them and I planted them. The first year, I had the hardest time getting those things to sprout and grow. And I think I got a couple that managed to produce, and that was about it. But we saved the seeds from the ones that actually survived. And now I've got them that every single one I planted is germinated. They're all growing great. So, just if people are having a hard time with a particular seed from a particular place, keep on plugging it in. If it's a variety that you really want to have of your own, keep on plugging them in. And then the ones that survive, save the seed from that, and you'll have better luck with them the next year. All right. Billy is saying, Jason, can fruit seeds from store-bought be grown as a last resort? Can you use commercially grown fruit and veggies to produce? I haven't done any this year, but for the past couple of years, I've done videos, a series of videos called "Can I Plant That?" where I would take exactly what you're talking about, things from the grocery stores. Okay, here's the scenario. We're going to imagine that the apocalypse has arrived, and we weren't prepared because we didn't believe all the warnings. Like, it's fear porn, you know. They're just trying to sell you something. I'm not going to believe that there's going to be any kind of food shortage or that gasoline prices are going to get out of hand or you know, whatever the imaginary crisis is going to be. That's never going to happen. So we didn't prepare. And now we're walking around in the wastelands and going through an old hardware store or an old grocery store that's already been picked over for everything. And we notice underneath one of the bins, there's a little bit of something there. And you look at it and go, well, I could eat this. I mean, it's not going to be a full meal, but I could eat it right now. Or can I plant that? And so we addressed the question of, can I plant this? Can I plant that? A lot of different things that you get from the grocery store are plantable. Most of the beans you can plant and grow. You can grow popcorn that you got from the grocery store. Bean soup mixes, the ones that have all different kinds of beans in them, those are great because you have a wide variety of different beans to choose from, right? Split peas, not so much.
Yeah.
Because they're split. Bird seed. Most bird seed you can plant and grow.
Cantaloupe works.
For example, black oiled sunflowers grow really well. Safflower seeds grow really well.
Hydraulics Family Garden.
Peanuts, if you get the whole peanuts that are provided for bird feed, those that's what I started all of my peanuts from was bird seed peanuts.
Actually, yeah.
And they grow really well. You can occasionally get your various types of fresh produce to grow. For example, if you take a carrot, you can theoretically anyway, not always, but sometimes take that carrot, and if it's wanting to keep on growing, plant it, let it grow, collect the seed from it, and you have carrot seed. Let's see, what else? Bell peppers. Use the
love bell peppers.
make sure they're ripe. So the best way to make sure a bell pepper is ripe enough that you can save the seed from it is if it's red, it's ripe enough that you can save the seed from it. Sometimes whenever they're still green, they're ripe enough, but the way you guarantee it is wait until they turn red. So let's see, squashes, melons, your watermelon, your squash, if you get those, save the seeds from them. As long as they were ripe, as long as they were picked ripe, then you can plant the seeds and you can get them to grow. A lot of times though, produce will be picked before it's fully ripe, and they allow it to finish ripening on the shelves. And in those cases, you might not be able to get the seed to grow. But in several cases, you can. It's not. Try it. I mean, if you've got a watermelon that you've been eating, and you go, "This is a really tasty watermelon," take some of the seeds, plant them, or save them and plant them. And the worst thing that's going to happen is they don't germinate, and you don't get a plant. Oh well. But if they do germinate, then hey, guess what? You bought the watermelon one year, but the next year you don't have to buy it, and then you don't have to buy watermelon ever again if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Potatoes. Yeah, you can grow potatoes. Store-bought potatoes, not a problem.
Yep, I've grown potatoes, cantaloupe, and bell peppers. As far as me personally.
Let's see. Rick Sharp Product says, Jason, are squashes and watermelons heavy feeders? Does plant size matter?
I know they like a lot of water,
Well,
but they also like sandy soil. So don't grow them in the desert. I don't think you can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me.
yeah. They are going to consume an awful lot of water, but they don't necessarily need to have a lot of soil fertility. Just whenever they're going through the various stages of their life cycle, putting on true leaves, give them some fertilizer. Starting to flower, but give them some fertilizer. Setting fruit, give them some fertilizer. And it doesn't have to be a lot of fertilizer. In all actuality, most of the time, plants only uptake about 2% of the available nitrogen anyway. So some of these high concentration nitrogen fertilizers are out there. You put it on, and most of it just flushes through the soil, washes down, gets in the waterways, causes algae blooms down there in the Gulf, and kills off a bunch of fish, and didn't help your plants out at all. Let's see. I gotta look to veggies early in the year. Here we go. Should veggies be harvested earlier than at the end of the plant's life? We had cucumbers, beans that had hard seeds and beans that are super fibrous no matter how much we cook them. Well, it depends. Are you harvesting them for the seed because you want to save the seed, or are you harvesting because you want them to be good to eat? And yeah, in the cases of cucumbers, the better tasting cucumber is harvested before it's fully ripe.
Yeah.
Squash too, like zucchini.
Yeah.
I don't like zucchini at first.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that about you, that you don't like zucchini.
But I'm growing a cucurbita pepo, which is called tromboncino. It's that really big, long, trombone shaped squash.
Yeah.
And it's whenever it's green, you would use it like a zucchini or a summer squash. But you can also allow it to get fully mature, and whenever it gets fully mature, it turns that nice tan color, and then it's just like a butternut squash. So it's which I do like. So it's a good storage squash, and you can eat it green too. And anytime I've got something like that, I can either harvest it early and eat it green, or I can wait until it's all the way done and eat it then. I love those sorts of things. They're fantastic. Most of the beans that I grow are the same way. I can pick them as green beans, or I can let them go ahead and finish off on the vine, and I've got soup beans for later. All right. Drops was saying, oh, he was talking to Wickshire.
They're talking back and forth.
Talking back and forth amongst each other. Talk back and forth amongst each other. There you go. Lots of good questions.
This is more current, so I'm just looking to see if there's anything. Tammy, how are you?
Great questions.
Did you guys get beat down with the hail, Jason, over there in your area?
The hail did not get us this year, but it got us. What was it? The year before last, I think it was. I had a little hoop house, if you recall, from the first year of videos, and it did not survive the year. It just got shredded. I kind of suspected that was going to happen, but Mary really wanted to have that soft plastic on a greenhouse. Yeah, he kept on bugging me about it. It's going to get torn up. But,
yeah, I didn't get a greenhouse after mine blew away. I didn't ever replace it. But you know what? It's so warm here. I'm just as easy just to put it out. The only thing I started under the grow light this year was peppers, just to get a jump start on them. Hello, Samantha Stewart.
All right. Oh, I like this one. It's a fun question. Billy says, Jason, what are the top 3 plants grown in your life that did so well and exceeded your expectations? Let me see. Exceeding my expectations. Absolutely. The peanuts that I planted from birdseed. I did not realize they were going to be so productive, but I planted them at a density of one plant per square foot. And whenever I finally got them out and pulled them up and looked, it was just a massive carpet of peanuts under each one of those plants. Amazing production from those things.
Ooh, I want to try that.
They really like growing here. But yeah, oh yeah, and I planted them with wood chip mulch over the top of the plant. So I put the mulch around the plants, so they set the pegs down just underneath the surface of the mulch, and that's where they formed the peanuts. They didn't go all the way into the ground before they made the peanuts. Yeah, so they're clean. There were really no dirt on them. We just shook the mulch off, and there you go. We're done, ready to eat. That was one. The canna lilies, I was very shocked with. I got them because I'd read that they produce an edible flower. I'm a huge fan of edible flowers for a couple of reasons. One is I don't like lettuce. I don't like having to fiddle with the stuff, and it always wants to bolt and go to seed early because we go from freezing to 85 degrees in the span of about 30 days here. So it's hard to grow lettuce.
Partial shade. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got into
have a big tall plant that can shade over it a little bit. Like I have a tall sunflower, and then the lettuce is underneath, and it's right by the house. So my lettuce does really well. It's in a raised bed. I mean, a raised up off the ground planter. What?
She's growing in a hotter climate than I am.
Yeah.
Okay. But I never did really like fiddling with lettuces, and And so I got into edible flowers because you can get these flowers that pick the flower and you pull the petals off and you throw them in your salad bowl. They're colorful, they're edible, and in some cases they're even tastier than the lettuce was. For example, daylily petals. Oh my gosh. If you have not eaten daylily petals yet, you don't even know what you're missing. Imagine the best butter crunch lettuce you ever had, and then it's sweet on top of that. Just
I don't even know what kind of lettuce I have. John from Will It Grow sent it to me, and I asked him what kind it was, and he just sent me more. So I still don't know what it is, but he's provided me with it a couple of years in a row. So
anyway, I'd had such success with daylilies, and I'm growing several different varieties, so they come on at different times. I said, well, let's go ahead and try another edible flower, and so I got these cannas, thinking, whenever I got them at the Atlas, the ranch supply store, they had them in a big box for I think it was $1 each that year. I was like,
hi, native wild man.
These are like the size of my pinky roots. They're tiny little things. I'm like, okay, yeah, I've heard the roots are edible too, but I don't think I'm gonna go dig these plants up for those tiny little roots. I'll
What
just
does it taste like?
The flowers themselves don't taste like much of anything. They're very bland, but they hold your salad dressing quite well. But the roots, well, let me get to that point. Since they were so small, whenever I bought them, I didn't realize that they were going to get so big. They got huge, massive, to the point where I went to go dig them up and okay, I'm going to save my roots and they'll probably overwinter okay in the ground. I'm going to save some anyway, just to be on the safe side. I stuck the fork in the ground and then realized I had a problem because this one plant, and it wasn't just one plant, it was every one of them, had grown up and was covering about 4 square feet of nothing but root mass. And there was about 20 pounds of roots under each one of those plants.
Thank you, Nora.
At that point, I realized, oh, okay. So whoever had produced these cannas that sold them at the nursery was growing them under conditions where they weren't able to get to their proper size. And what I've got here is something that really could be grown as a root vegetable, and especially since you put it in the ground, you let it grow, and that's all you need to do. You don't have to tend it. You don't have to take care of it. You put it in the ground, you walk away. If you want to go chase the buffalo, you go chase the buffalo. And then whenever you dig it up, these 20 pounds of roots, once you peeled that tough skin on the outside of them away, which you do just by boiling them in water for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes and then letting them cool so you can handle it, cut it right in half and then peel it off. And that fibrous mass on the inside it's starchy and fibrous. It's like a potato with just a little bit of dietary fiber in it. It's not fibrous the way celery is. I don't know what the best way to describe it is. It's really quite good. It tastes a bit like a potato. It's best stir fried and then soups and stews and stuff like that.
Does Mary like it?
Mary loves them. Yeah.
I'm texting.
I don't know why my Swiss chard will not grow. Drops is talking about Swiss chard. I have planted Swiss chard twice and it won't come up for me. So I don't know if it has to do with my really hot climate or.
Could be.
Swiss chard does not love me. So I can't figure out what it tastes like because it won't grow for me. So I have no idea.
It likes cool temperatures.
Oh, you remember Gail has a lot of clay. She has a lot of clay.
I don't know if the clay is going to affect it or not.
She has to do raised beds.
Well, I have 2 planters that are like chest high, where I put my lettuces and stuff that are up high. You know, where I put the sensitive things. I have my strawberries in one and lettuce in the other one.
You might try it on the south side of the house. Putting your chart on the south side of the house and letting it get less light.
North.
Hopefully it'll be. Oh, I'm sorry, north side of the house.
North,
I've got my directions back. I've got my directions backwards. Sorry, mate.
I have my kale on the front porch. My kale prefers the front porch to the backyard. So I've got to where I just grow my kale in one grow bag.
Yeah.
All year long.
Nice. Yeah, kale likes it cold too. So.
Yeah, I have it under. There's a tree in the cement. I tried to grow it in the backyard, and then I just put it back on the front porch. It just, I don't know. It likes that environment for some reason.
This next one up here, really saying, Jason's the color of shade cloth matter, white or black? Thoughts? You're gonna love my answer to this one. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if the color matters at all. Um, white shade cloth would reflect more sunlight, I would imagine, and that would probably make it cooler. If you're looking for
Whereas black would really kind of draw in the
whereas black would absorb more sunlight and convert that sunlight to heat. That's just physics talking, not gardening experience though. So I don't really know from having experimented with both of them to be able to give you a definitive answer. But there you go.
Native Wild Man, I got your gift card, and I'm going to mail that out this week to you.
Drops is saying his lovage grows fine at 90 to 100 degrees in the summer. That's cool. I'm trying to get some lovage started this year, but I don't know how well it's going to work out. It's apparently slow to take off, or it is here. I've tried planting some Turkish rocket seeds, and I am not seeing any of those coming out. So there's some
kind of a rough gardening year this year. Of that,
yeah.
The other day I said, I'm just going to make a short video just to show you what's going right. There's a lot going wrong, but let me just focus on what's going right. Huh?
There's a lot going weird too.
Yeah.
It's just weird weather patterns. Oh, last year was unusual for us too. We had a really, really cool summer. I mean, all summer long, very, very cool. And ordinarily, I don't try growing potatoes into the summer at all because it's going to be too hot out. They're not going to do well. I could have gotten away with it last year. So I don't know what's going to happen now. We started out hitting 80s or high 80s, low 90s earlier on this past month, and today it's 75 degrees and cloudy, and we had rain.
75 degrees in June. That's
high.
That's
Isn't
nice. That's
75.
nice. That's wow. That's scary nice, Jason. That's scary nice.
Yeah, it's very,
disturbingly nice. It's nice, but it's disturbing at the same time because that is weird weather.
Well, yeah. I'm sitting here wondering, when's the next?
When's the baseball size hail gonna fall from the sky? Right. I thought that the baseball size hail was gonna kill my lettuce, and it did look really bad. It had a bunch of dead spots on it, and though it broke my heart, I went through and pulled all the dead parts off of it, and then the next day I replanted on the other side of the planter, and that lettuce is more beautiful than it was.
You got some free pruning done.
Yeah, it is just luscious. I can go out there and pick lettuce.
I was tempted to write that in the comments whenever I saw the video, and Mary said, "Don't do that. This is just me." And I was like, there is a silver lining behind all that devastation.
Well, I wanted to make. I'm like, I know everybody knows I'm not making a gardening video. I know they know I got hit with the hail. I had videos. I said, I'm just going to make this little bitty video to show you there's still something going right. I'm showing the positive. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going wrong that is not in the video. But I was just like, focus on what's right.
Almost baseball size hail that you got. That was just over the top.
On the app, it looked to me like golf ball size in person. But when I got the weather thing, which is after the storm was gone, the weather thing came in after the storm was over, which is the weirdest thing. It was calling it baseball size. So I don't know, maybe my scale's off, but
some of those pieces they looked like they were probably baseball size, at least whenever they came down.
Isn't that funny how I'm such a YouTuber? My very first thought was to video it. That was literally my thought. I need to video. I didn't even think about moving my car. No, I thought about making a video. What in the world?
Right? Yeah, year before last, whenever we got that heavy hail, it wasn't quite that big. We had some golf ball size, but we didn't have any baseball size. Not here. There was maybe about 8 minutes away. There were some that was that size, but whenever it was coming down, I looked out there. I'm not going to go out there and do any. It wasn't I could do anything to move my truck into some safe place anyway. I was just watching it going, I'm going to wind up with gonna wind up with some damage on the truck here. There's just no getting out of it. But amazingly enough, the truck wasn't hurt. It all was coming down at an angle so that it didn't hit the windshield straight on. It was coming in sideways.
Yeah.
But since it was coming in sideways like that, it was hitting and bouncing and coming up onto the porch. And while I was sitting there videotaping, I realized I'm going to have to go inside because my camera is going to get broken.
Yeah, I just was holding my phone, literally, and I was like, okay, I need a regular size video, and my brain was but actually, I say video was my first thought. My actually very first thought was the cats in the backyard. So when I opened the door, baby ran in. Miley was under the planter, but I was afraid one was going to conk her up in the head because it was bouncing everywhere. So finally, in my sock feet, I just went and grabbed her and put her inside the house, because she's an outside cat. But I didn't want her to get conked in the head with that because they were huge. And I was just worried about, we actually have a hole in the chicken nesting box. It actually damaged the nesting box. One went through 2 layers of wood, basically. Yeah, wow.
He was coming down with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't watching my car get pounded. Once the cats got in, I wasn't worried about myself at all. I mean, I was excited for a while, and it didn't hit me the devastation of it all until later. But we had roof damage.
Yeah.
We're going to have a whole new roof.
Yay.
Both of our windshields. My car was totaled out, and they sold it back to me.
We'll cover it, then yay. If not, then oh.
Yeah, I'm glad they let me buy it back because, I have no job, so I can't have a car payment. That's not practical. So, and I was like, man, why does stuff like this happen after you pay your car off?
We were fortunate. Our insurance didn't cover entirely the cost of replacing our roof, but they covered a good portion of it, a good chunk of it. And we fortunately had some money saved, so we were able to cover the rest of it. Savings are important, guys. Savings are very important. We have to go back. We have to go back to saving more money now.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God for insurance and savings. Definitely.
Insurance and savings, we managed to get through it. I'm going to look at some of these.
I feel bad for these people who, when it comes time to get their car inspected, they are not going to be able to afford to get their cars fixed. Now, I'm going to fix the windshield, but the body damage is going to stay on my car.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, fixing body damage is so expensive anyway.
Not going to mess with that.
I'd rather buy an old clunker that had a functioning engine in the first place and not worry about it. And then
I think you can almost call my car a clunker now because it's got all these. It didn't look that way before, but it does now. I'm coming to terms with it.
I do have a wish list for a truck. I really one of these days, someday, whenever I'm rich and famous, I would love to have a nice Ford F-350 diesel 4x4 full cab. It's extended bed, towing package, all that good stuff.
That sounds nice.
That's probably going to cost more than this house, but
trucks are expensive.
Yeah, I'd love to have one someday, and then I can just plant sunflowers and press the oil and grow some plants that are good for making sugar, make my ethanol, mix it with my sunflower oil, and make my own diesel. Self-sufficiency.
Self-sufficiency.
I love self-sufficiency. Billy's saying, what's the benefit of wood chips? Can I use them to dress a bed other than just laying them down as walkways? All right. So the benefit of wood chips is trees are constantly growing and putting the roots deep down into the soil, into the subsoil region, far down below where ordinary plants have their roots. Down there in the subsoil, they're gathering up minerals and bringing them up and storing them in
Hello, Keith.
leaves. So the minerals and the nutrients that the tree has managed to mine from the subsoil are all present whenever you You take the tree and turn it into wood chips. If you use that as a top dressing over your plants and use it as mulch over time, usually about a year is about how long it takes for it to really begin breaking down, it will pass those nutrients on to your plants. You won't see a great benefit the first year other than the benefit of having mulch in the first place. A little bit of weed suppression, a little bit better water retention and stuff like that. But over years, as you're adding wood chips to your garden as a top dressing, you'll see definite improvement in the overall quality of your produce. Let's see. Drops saying his lovage is 4 foot tall. Put it in chicken noodle soup today and only got about a foot and a half last year, but it survived the winter at -8 degrees and the celery did not. Yeah, lovage has a more intense flavor than celery, and it's one of the reasons why I really want to grow it, aside from it being perennial and I don't have to fiddle with planting it every year, right? So hopefully we'll get some of it. They'll actually make it. It gets huge. Eventually, they'll get 6 foot across or so. And if you don't go out there and keep cutting it back, it'll take over the world. And shoot, I love plants that want to take over the world. I mean, so many times we struggle so hard to try to grow things that just seem to want to die, right? Like everything is trying to plant and grow in the garden, it all wants to die. And then we've got these weeds that just they want to live.
They want to, the things we don't want to eat, they want to live.
Maybe I should be planting weeds instead. That's what I'm going to do. This is my new gardening method. I'm going to find weeds that I want to eat, and that's what I'm going to plant.
Yeah, weeds will grow. Hey, if we get hungry enough, we're going to eat those weeds. Let me tell you.
Well, we have.
Hello, Lulu, and hi, Ellen. I know you're still here. Let's see. There was somebody else. Who was it? I don't know why. I almost can't see any comments on there. I can only see them on my phone.
Sometimes you don't see them all on.
Oh, Keith Lewis Crochet. Hello. Okay. I want to make sure I said everybody's name. Yeah, I could see more current stuff on my phone. But yeah, this is my new craft room / office.
Nice.
And this was my daughter's room. We had a daughter that graduated this year, and I had multiple conversations trying to maneuver the girls being in the same room together because, one is graduating. The other one is now 17. She'll be a senior next year. So I'm like, they pretty much come here on the weekends anyway. I'm like, I want to have my own room, for an office. So that's why I've got my little.
So you guys have 3 bedrooms?
3 bedrooms. Yep. 3 bedrooms, dining room, living room. When we first moved here, the dining room was actually the living room, and it was tiny. So my husband took the garage, closed it in, made the utility room narrow for a utility room. And then that bigger part over there, he turned into a garage. Well, he doesn't have any formal construction training, but he's just one of those people that can watch people do stuff and learn. So, one example of that is that our air conditioner stopped working. So we called the guy out and he came out here. Well, my husband was right on top of him, probably making him nervous the whole time, asking questions. Well, some kind of animal or bug or something got in there. He figured out how he did that. So the next time he didn't have to call that guy. He just fixed it himself.
Nice.
So that's what kind of person he is. Now, I'm not quite always that brilliant, but
valuable skill set to have.
Yeah, it is. But I did learn this year. I've never really used tools, worked on cars, did anything like that. So I never really worked with tools. But I watched my stepdaughter make jewelry and stuff like that. So I learned how to make little stitch markers for the crocheting community. I don't do it personally, but I learned how to make them so I could give them to other people. And it was cool because I finally learned how to use tools. And I'm way too old to be learning a bunch of new things, but I'm learning something new. So I actually find it fun.
You're never too old to learn new things.
But it was fun. I like doing it. And every once in a while, I'll just make a video and I'll just give some away to somebody just because I like doing it. So, matter of fact, I found a video yesterday of somebody who had won some. And she was just so tickled. And when she got them, and of course I cannot crochet. I tried. You see over here, this is what Nisi made. You see the washcloth there?
All right. Yeah.
The wall.
Hanging on the wall.
She made those 3 pieces. It's like a spa set she mailed to me, but I didn't have the heart to get it dirty, so I hung it on the wall so I could just look at it. It's so pretty. It actually has a lot of pretty detail. You just can't really see it from the camera, but
See, that's another skill that's valuable to have. Maybe you don't, but knowing somebody that can make cloth might come handy someday.
Yeah, I have the yarn. I mean, I have yarn and stuff. I was trying to learn. I couldn't quite pick up on it. And I was learning the crochet and the stitch markers at the same time. And I really picked up on the jewelry making stuff more easily.
Yeah.
And so I just continued on with that.
Fun too.
Yeah, it was my brain worked that way a little bit easier. And then I started following crafting channels, and I made a little third channel called Southern Sandy Crafts. And I started doing crafting with some crafting people. So I find it very just relaxing, making little paper butterflies and, just cute little crafty stuff, making cards and stuff. So I find it relaxing.
Making beads is fun too. You get polymer clay and mix your colors and make beads out of, fire the beads in your oven. And then
my friend's got a resin kit. We're going to play with that one day. So that'll be fun.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, she's my friend. She's a nurse, and she's not doing it anymore. But she has like all these cool little toys that are just sitting there. She was so busy as a nurse, she bought cool toys but didn't have time to play with them. So she's going to bring them over, and we're going to try to figure out how to do them together. So it'll be fun.
Nice. So Billy was asking, why use a cover crop? What are the common types of cover crop? Okay, so the reason you use cover crops is so that your soil is not left bare and unprotected. Whenever you don't have something covering the surface of the soil, water can erode your soil, wind can erode your soil, and if you lose your topsoil, you don't have anything to grow in anymore. And when you don't have anything to grow in anymore, you can't grow food. You can't grow food, you starve to death. And nobody wants to starve to death. So grow a cover crop. Or you can alternatively cover the ground with something. For example, wood chips take care of that as well. So if I have my entire ground surface covered with wood chips.
Hi, Homestead Aquarius. How are you?
I don't wind up losing. Hi, Robert. I don't wind up losing soil to erosion. Second reason for growing a cover crop is it keeps roots in the ground. Remember that we were talking about earlier about the fungi and the bacteria in the soil being fed by the sugars that plants put out through their root systems. This causes the fungi and the bacteria to continue to have something to feed them, so they can continue to do their work of building soil aggregates and keeping your soil healthy, so that you can grow other things in it. What kind of cover crop? People grow a variety of different things depending upon their needs. For example, a lot of folks in that are farming, growing for large scale agriculture, will mix things like a winter rye and maybe winter rye on annual clover, and mix those up. Buckwheat's also a popular one for some folks. If you have soil compaction issues, then daikon radishes can be used, and you can do a wide variety of different things all at the same time. Maybe 7 or 8 different types of seeds, each one that does something different for the soil. You go ahead and shotgun plant that out all across the surface and let it grow. And then whenever the summer comes, you either till it in or you cut it back. My personal favorite is clover, and I like Dutch white clover, perennial clover, because it takes care of itself. Once you've got it planted and established, it'll grow. It'll keep on growing year after year. If you want to plant something, you just go to the spot where you want to plant, and you remove the clover from that spot, either by occultation, where you cover it up for a week or two to kill off the plant, or you can use your flame weeder and just kill the clover in that one spot. You just apply the flame to it for just a second or so, and then come back a few days later, you'll find it's all wilted back, and then you can go plant into that area where the clover just was. And since you've killed the clover in that one spot, all of those nitrogen nodules that were at its roots are now available for whatever it is that you're planting in the same spot. So Dutch white clover is my absolute favorite cover crop. It just keeps the soil healthy, keeps it from blowing away, and provides you with fertilizer too. It's just win-win-win all the way around. Let me see. Drops is saying lovage is at least 10 times more nutritional than celery. Yeah, it's not only is it more nutritious than celery, but also it has a much more pronounced flavor. You don't need as much lovage for that celery flavor as you would need of celery. So it's good all the way around. Oh, hang on a second.
Oh no.
Well, hang on. Mary's
It has green on it, doesn't it?
hang on a second here. Let me go
I'm
with.
better white of peanuts.
Oh yeah, don't forget to show us the pool noodle thing.
There we go.
I was asking, so
So
there you go.
so this is the peanuts that we use for bird seed, but it's also the peanuts that we plant.
Sorry.
So
Ah,
there we go. All right. So I'll go back to background. What do we have? What's this one? Oh, that's the Morocco Farmers Market. There's a picture there of some daffodils popping up earlier this spring. That's a nice background.
pretty.
Billy was saying, what's your favorite types of ale beer now stocking the fridge? I don't have any ale or beer stocking in the fridge. I do have some milk in there, and I've got some peach soda in there.
Peach soda.
But the beer that I have outside of the fridge right now is this. We found this at the liquor store the other day. It's a Dogfish Head 90-minute Imperial IPA. It's very malty. Not bad.
Hot beer. Ugh.
IPA is a very colonial thing, right? Back in the days, whenever the English were visiting North America in wooden sailing ships, the beer ration was part of a sailor's daily ration. But on a long voyage, it would spoil, so they would take handfuls of hops and just keep on adding the hops to increase the acidity to combat bacteria on the voyage. And as a result, by the time you got to where you were going, the beer was excessively hoppy, and that's where the India Pale Ale came from.
So it made it more strong. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it gave it more hops, and it gives you the more of that bitter flavor.
Oh, okay.
I'm particularly fond of hops because the lupulin in hops is a good natural pain reliever. So now some people will drink to alleviate pain. If you're going to drink to alleviate pain, drink beer, and drink a hoppy beer, and it takes care of those aches and pains really well. You don't have to drink that much.
This is Curly Sue. She has to go get fixed next week.
Well,
She is the most miserable little kitty right now. I tell you, poor baby. It looks downright painful. You know, the look on her face. She's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah.
Whatever it is, she has the worst of it because her eyes just get kind of squinty, like she's in pain or something. It's like, poor baby.
Let's see. Oh, Billy said, Jason, name 1 to 3 veggies that someone would not normally think to vertically grow. I don't know if I can come up with 3 off the top of my head.
Vertical.
Vertical grow. Sweet potatoes.
Oh.
Most of the time, whenever we grow sweet potatoes, we allow the vines to trail out and be a ground cover. But you can train them to grow up in a pole or up a tree. And if you're looking to conserve space, then that might be an option to look at. You might try, growing maybe corn with sweet potatoes. Use the corn as the trellis for the vines for your sweet potatoes, and then use peanuts for your ground cover. Now you've got 3 crops growing in the same amount of space.
I have some corn growing in a trash can. In a plastic trash can.
All right. So
Pretty good.
So yeah, I've got an invisible object here.
Jason with his magic stick.
I'm gonna do the Cheshire cat thing here.
Where's Jason?
This is a pool noodle. It just happens to be green, so it's an invisible pool noodle. I can't remember who it was that I saw doing this, and I would really like to credit them, but the idea was you can use a pool noodle. This one's the green pool noodle. You can use a pool noodle in an aquaponics setup. You just cut off a little bit, about the same size that you would use for a regular net cup.
Yeah.
And then cut a slit on one side, and now you can insert your seedling into that and put it down into the top of your aquaponics setup. And these are super cheap. I got this at the dollar store. It was $1.25, right? Or the Dollar Tree. But it's now the 5-quarter store, not the dollar store. But
Poor baby.
inflation, right? But I thought, wow, I need to get one of these. And I also used it to pass the electric into our duck hut, our new duck house, so I can have a fan and lights and heaters and all that good stuff in there.
You have ducks?
We've recently got duckies, and we got a total of 12 khaki Campbell hens. Well, we've got 2 that might be hens and might be drakes. We don't really know for sure. And since I didn't really know for sure, and I said I really don't want to miss out on the opportunity to have some duck eggs, I went ahead and bit the bullet, contacted Metzer, and had them ship 10 sex females. So we definitely have at least 10 laying ducks, and possibly 12. I don't know. We'll find out if those other 2 are.
So y'all have some kind of water or pond there for the duckies?
Or
a baby pool or something? Huh?
Right now I'm using cement mixing trays for the water for them to swim around in. They'll swim around, splash a bunch of it out. By the next morning, whenever I go to change out the water, it's no good after one day. I can pour it into a 5-gallon bucket, and I've got my duck poo in the water, and I can go and I can fertigate with the duck manure diluted in water, and the plants love it. But the long-term plan, of course, is going to be to put a 3,000 to 4,000 gallon pond in the back for the ducks to be able to use on a regular basis, and then our drain from that goes straight out into the irrigation canals that I've dug out through the garden area. So whenever I go ahead and open up that valve and whoosh, pull off the stuff from the bottom on a fairly regular basis, maybe at least once a week, that will be sufficient to water the garden all at one go and fertilize all at one go. And I can then change out the water and have happy ducks with a large enough pond that they can really have enough room to play around in it and be happy. I might add some fish to that system as well. Then we'll have another one, probably about 3,000 gallons up here in the front yard north side. Well, it has enough room for that. And then we'll put maybe about a 200 or 300 gallon one directly in front of the porch. And then I might have a couple more here and there, the small ones, that I can actually grow a few fish in. And so we'll have duck eggs, fish, fresh vegetables. This is a third of an acre, and we'll easily be able to produce enough food for 4 people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She's rotten. Can you tell?
No, yeah, spoiled.
Spoiled little brat.
What?
Be the cat
Oh, where is she at?
behind you.
This is Curly Sue.
This one is called Suzu.
Stizu.
Suzu, short for Suzuki. Yeah.
Suzuki.
Suzuki. Hi, kitty. She doesn't like being picked up, but she insists on having attention. So she'll come up and, hey, give me attention, give me attention, give me attention. I go pick her up. She goes, oh, put me down, put me down, put me down. Give me attention, give me attention, give me attention. Oh, this drives me nuts.
I know. Yeah.
Let's see. Ta-da.
Yeah, I can't even. It's not even showing any chat to me anymore. I can only see it if I'm looking at my phone. My laptop doesn't tell me anything. Did your wife tell you I tried to get her on for an interview one time?
No, she didn't tell me.
Oh,
It says, what would we talk about? Oh, I don't know. Trucking? Yeah. I mean,
being a female truck driver?
being a chick that drives a big rig? I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to hear about that, right?
Yeah, sounds interesting. Hello, Mountain Maple Ranch. Hello, Tropical Buzz. Yeah, she's a little brat. She doesn't know she's about to get surgery.
I finally scrolled down to the comments where I see where Robert said hello.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. We've got so many. Oh, Did I? No, I didn't. I didn't include it.
What?
The tree frog. In tonight's video. Okay, so tonight I've got a premiere coming up at 8:00, and I did not include the tree frog. I shot some footage
Uh-huh.
where I got some nice, really good close-up shot of one of our tree frogs. This one came out of the maple tree, and he's perfectly camouflaged. He looks like maple bark, but he was down there in the 4 o'clocks, just sitting there. I got the camera up close on it. He looks like a little chunk of bark sitting there.
I have a little short of a little frog, frog by the water bowl. I have a little short. I don't know what kind of frog it is, but it's cute. It was little.
But this little tree frog, he's so well camouflaged that if he was on the tree, you would not know that he was there. He just disappeared. You wouldn't see him at all.
I bet that's what kind of frog this was. Are they little? Are they small?
Yeah, he was about maybe that big. Yeah.
I bet that's what kind of frog I had too, because that sounds about. He looked like he was about the color that a tree would be. Yeah.
And they're starting to really sing a lot now, which is cool. And once we have ponds in, we're going to have so many more. It's going to be great. And of course, frogs are also great for going out there and eating your bugs for you. Birds, frogs, lizards, snakes. Although people don't really like snakes, but snakes have a purpose in the ecosystem as well. Snakes also.
Will the birds eat caterpillars?
Yes. That's
because I had caterpillars attack my squash last year. So if they'll take care of the caterpillars, I'll feed them. And I used to feed the birds all the time. But when I got chickens, I stopped feeding the birds because anything I had left over, I just gave to the chickens, right? It made sense. Yep. But I stopped. But if they would help with the caterpillars, then I might consider it, because it was almost going into fall, but I still had zucchini. I wasn't ready to let go of the zucchini yet. And I know you don't like squash, but I wasn't ready to let go yet. And they just started attacking it. Before I know it, within a week, it was just decimated. I was like, oh my gosh.
But little caterpillars are the number one food that mommy and daddy birds will feed to their little ones. So we feed them seeds in the winter and early spring. We feed them seeds, and the reason we feed them seeds is so they'll come around, they'll hang around, they'll hang out in our yards instead of somebody else's. And if they're hanging out in our yards and they're wanting to raise their families close to our yards, then the place where they go to find the food that they feed to their babies is also going to be our yards. And so I'm basically bribing them to come help take care of my pest problem.
I like that idea, because I was trying to think of an all natural way to solve that problem, without having to use chemicals.
Well,
we do our gardening, huh?
A lot of the problems that we experience in gardening, if we don't do anything and allow nature to do its thing, nature will sort it out. If we're going too much of one thing in one area, that's when we have real serious problems with pests.
Yeah.
So plant a diversity of different things. Don't plant all the same thing in one spot. If you have a whole bunch of one thing, split it up. Have some here, some there, some there, some there, and then intersperse other things along with it. Confuses the heck out of the pests. They don't know what to do.
Okay.
And it provides the opportunity for the predators of those pests to come in and deal with the pests. And then those pest predators to come in, they handle things for you. For example, right now out there in the corn patch, since I planted peas early on, the peas are about ready to harvest, and I need to pull those out and put some black-eyed peas in instead. But those are covered with ladybugs. They're covered with ladybugs because peas produce a lot of sugar, and the sugar attracts the aphids. So the aphids were drawn to the sugar. The ladybugs feed on the aphids, and now I have a host of ladybugs which are there present nearby my corn plants, and so they're available to hunt the pests that would be affecting my corn as well.
Yeah, that's good advice. I'll have to take that into account for next year, or if I do any replanting this year, I'll think about that. But that's a great idea. Split things up. That's a good idea, because I usually do put all my squash together, but
in an odd way, by feeding aphids, I wound up attracting more of the predator that I would need to not only handle aphids, but also everything else too.
But there's no negative that you can think of to the birds coming to your yard. Like, do they attack your tomatoes while they're there? Or no? Okay.
They don't attack the tomatoes. I don't feed them corn, and as I mentioned before, I've stopped giving them millet and milo. Whenever I had millet and milo and cracked corn out there, a lot of the swarming blackbirds would come in for it, and they only come in for a couple of weeks. But whenever they do, they just mob the feeders and eat everything in a matter of seconds. None of the other birds can get anything, and they can go camp out at the Walmart parking lot or the McDonald's parking lot, or they're always out there anyway, right?
Yeah.
They don't need to come take the food that the other birds have over here for my feeders. So I stopped putting it in there. All the songbirds, the cardinals, the buntings. We have indigo buntings, painted buntings. House finches, wrens. Well, the wrens actually aren't coming to the feeders. They're coming and stealing the cat food. But all of those birds, like the black oil sunflower and safflower, they don't mind that I don't have cracked corn and millet and stuff like that there. So those birds have no interest in eating my strawberries. They have no interest in attacking my tomatoes. They didn't touch the gummy berry. Incidentally, that's the plant that we're going to be talking about extensively on tonight's videos. The gummy, Elaeagnus multiflora. It's a great little plant. I'm so glad I grew it. They might eat some mulberries. I mean, occasionally I'll wind up seeing mulberry in their scat, and I guess they can have some mulberries.
Yeah, they can have some mulberries.
We've got a few trees that are too big for me to reach all the fruit in them. So at least the birds get some.
I could handle them eating some of my mulberries.
They haven't touched my blueberries, so on the whole, I'm fairly happy. For the most part, they keep the birds that would be attacking my vegetables away, because they don't those two varieties, the songbirds and the pesky birds, don't really get along well with each other. Like blue jays might look pretty, but they're annoying. They're like blue crows.
Yeah.
Billy said, if I could only pick one, would you choose perennial or annual? Tough question due to the limitations. If I could only pick one, perennials. No question at all, perennials. Annuals have their place. Annuals are good for putting in the ground. They grow quick. They produce a yield right now. So if you've got a space or a niche that you don't know what you want to do with it yet, grow annuals in it. You'll figure out what you want to put in there eventually. And then eventually, whenever you get around to it, replace the annuals that you're growing there with a good solid perennial, and then you've planted it once, it grows, produces for a lifetime, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's already covered. And that's really what I love about perennials. I can have a perennial garden growing, and if I need to go up and go fight a war or chase the buffalo or go fishing or I need to go work a 9-to-5 job to earn money for taking care of something, I can do that and I still have a garden. But if I'm growing an annual garden, if I have to leave it, it's a lost cause.
Yeah.
And
we'll have chocolate mint forever and ever, I believe.
Creek don't rise.
I thought it died there for a while. Nope, it came back.
It came back with a vintage. Chocolate mint.
Oh, yeah.
I love chocolate mint. Chocolate mint and peppermint. And the bugs don't like it either. I mean, this is another way you can combat pests in the gardens. Grow lots of mint.
Yeah, this is the mint I got from Indiana Backyard Gardener. This is year 2 of that.
Chocolate mint?
Yep, and I didn't do anything to it at all. It just come back on its own. That's nice. My main volunteers were tomatoes, though.
So Billy is saying, what is agroforestry? Why did I get into it? Okay, we covered that earlier on. Agroforestry is an agricultural system where we focus on growing things the way nature does, as a forest in multiple layers, and then we can incorporate our annuals and our animals and our aquatic systems in along with that too. I got into it. I had a lot of influence getting into it. Stefan Sokoviak up there at the La Ferme Miracle in Quebec was very instrumental in getting me excited about a permaculture orchard concept. Mark Shepard in Wisconsin, and of course the strategic total utter neglect method of growing. I found that really intriguing. Is okay. So let me get this straight. Your growing success depends upon leaving it alone. That appeals to me.
Yes, doing nothing and growing.
Let's try doing nothing, and it made perfect sense. So, okay, we're walking by this section of highway here, and here's this hedge growing alongside of the highway. And this side of this hedge, we've got just everything growing, and this wild profusion of different things that are growing. And some of these are actually really good edible forage trees and bushes and plants like that. And all the wildlife is in it. All the life is in it. And he says, for hundreds of years, people have been trying to kill this on the side of the road, and it keeps on growing. You can't kill it. That's what I want my garden to be. You can't kill it, because I'm not a really good gardener at all. I'm a horrible gardener. I can kill anything. Well, I've actually managed to find a few things that I cannot kill that are also productive, that also taste good and nutritious and all that good stuff. So that's what I'm trying to grow, is more of that. And instead of spending so much effort trying to keep things growing that just want to die, I really have begun looking for weeds that I want to eat, and I'm going to grow those. So now I have pecan trees and hazelnut trees volunteering in the yard. Those are the weeds. I have to do something with them. So whenever I'm weeding, I'm producing trees that I can put up for sale on the website. So it's also a secondary income stream. My weeds are for sale.
We have a tree outside.
One day you'll have your own weeds, and you'll be sitting there looking and going, geez, I need to get rid of these, and what do I do with them? Sell them? Give them to your
Sell them.
It's all food.
We figured out what to do with our weeds now. We can actually sell our weeds. We can sell our bunny brew.
And of course, those weeds that you don't sell, another good use for them is go ahead and chop those down, throw them into a bucket or a barrel, cover that with a little bit of water, give it a shot of sugar to get the bacteria started, cover it so the mosquitoes don't get into it, and give it a few weeks. And once they've all fermented down, liquid organic fertilizer. All the nutrients that those weeds manage to pull up out of the soil and produce are now available to you, and you can give those to the plants that you want to grow. So your weeds they're not a problem, they're a resource.
Yeah. If you use them right.
Yeah.
All our leaves that fell down in the front yard because of the hail. I hired daughter to rake them and put them in bags for me, and some of them are in my big plastic compost back there. They weren't thrown away. They're going to be used in the garden. They're going to be, when I'm setting up beds for next year, those leaves are going to be in it.
And since the trees have done all the work of pulling those minerals up out of the subsoil for you, that's going to be very, very rich compost and good for your garden.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just astounding that so many people will cut their grass, bag the clippings, remove the grass clippings. When the leaves fall off their trees, they have the leaves raked up, bag them up, they remove the leaves.
Yeah,
so
they were specifically told not to throw the leaves away.
All the fertility that their land is producing, they're throwing it away.
Yeah. Also, people that throw away their grass clippings and have chickens in the backyard, dude, that's free food.
Right? Like,
at least grab some bundles. Like when he mows out there, he won't throw many of it, but I'll go out there after him and I'll be pushing through the holes. I'll be pushing bunches of grass.
And of course, my goal is to not have any grass at all if I can help it. I might have some ornamental grass here and there, or I might grow a few clumps of rice.
Ours are really grassy.
Just because I can. Tall grass gives the fireflies a place to hang out. They like tall grass. That's about the only reason you need to have grass around, as far as I know. Unless, of course, you're grazing livestock that needs grass to eat, in which case, okay, fine. But most people that have a lawn don't have a sheep to go along with it. So I have to wonder, why are you growing a lawn? Why don't you grow some nice flowers? They can be pretty, they can be edible, they can be medicinal. You can make it look really nice and really pretty. I mean, that's kind of nice there behind me, right?
Yeah, it's pretty.
No grass. It's no grass. It's just a little hardscaping, some mulch, and lots of flowers coming up, and it winds up being pretty.
Like our front yard, we don't water our front yard at all. All we do, my husband mows it. That's it. I only water where there are things growing. I do not water where there are not plants that I intend for them to grow. And I like to let my wildflowers come up to, get the pollination going. Like I have a little section where he leaves the buttercups
Nice.
growing until all the zinnias and marigolds come up so that the bees have something to come there. You got to draw them in. So
yeah. If there's nothing there for them, they're not going to be there.
Yeah. So he leaves them until my flowers got up. But we've had this conversation.
Well, this is the problem they have in the orchards in California, where they have just hundreds of acres of nothing but almond trees, just huge almond plantations, far as the eye can see. Almonds from one side of the valley to the other, nothing but almond trees, and they bring in bees. Beekeepers bring in the bees, put the beehives in the orchards so that the bees can go and they can pollinate the almond trees. But there's one problem: there's not enough nectar in the flower of an almond tree. I got flies bugging me. But there's not enough nectar in the flower of the almond tree to support the bees, so they have to supplement feed the bees with extra sugar. It turns out bees don't really like living on a diet of almond nectar and just sugar. They want real food, like everything else. They want real food. So they wind up getting up and leaving. And,
what do the bees eat?
Well, the bees eat nectar and pollen.
Oh, okay.
There's not enough
so
of it.
What kind of flowers do they want?
There's a wide variety of different flowers, from ground cover flowers like clover, purple dead nettle, especially early in the spring. They love that stuff. They'll harvest nectar from chickweed. Black locust trees and redbud trees, they'll harvest the nectar from those flowers as well. So anytime you can find really profuse nectar-bearing flowers, you're going to get, lots of bee action. So you're doing great by leaving those plants up so that they have something. That's a good strategy.
Yep.
And of course,
I have all my pretty purple zinnias up, so that's awesome.
People talk about colony collapse disorder, where these colonies of bees just take off and leave, and they're like, "What's happening to all the bees? What's happening to all the bees?" Well, in most of these cases, what's happening to the bees is that they said, "I've had enough of your, and I'm out of here."
Yeah,
because they don't like the environment they're being kept in.
Yeah, I try to have a good bee environment going on here. My marigolds are very slow going this year, I notice. I have managed to get my purple zinnias up. Blackberry Rock Homestead sent me a packet of purple zinnias because she knows I like purple. So they're coming up great.
I'm trying dahlias for the first time this year. It's going to be interesting.
What color are dahlias?
They come in a variety of different colors. The ones that I got are kind of a burgundy red.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be cool. I've got some bread seed poppy growing. I think I managed to get 3 plants to actually germinate. So hopefully I'll be able to save the seeds from those. I'm not going to use them for microgreens this year. I'll save the seeds and then grow more next year, and then we can start experimenting with poppy seed microgreens. Incidentally, poppies, if you use them to grow sprouts, have more calories than just about any other microgreen you can grow. And there's other uses for poppies, but those aren't legal.
Yeah, poppy seeds.
Although if the world as we know it comes to a screeching halt someday, having poppies around might be beneficial because
yeah,
you won't be able to get a general anesthetic at the hospital reliably if you need to do surgery.
Oobly.
That was depressing.
Yeah, definitely. Might be praying for death if you need surgery. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no anesthetic surgery with no anesthetic. Yeah. Billy is asking us, does sprinkling cinnamon on a new seed pot really prevent fungus while the seeds are growing? I do not know.
Dandelions.
I have seen fungus growing on cinnamon that got wet, though, so it wouldn't prevent all fungus. Well, I've seen mold growing on cinnamon that's gotten wet. So maybe, possibly. Robert's saying cinnamon keeps the ants out of your container plants.
Joe Serrano said, can white rice from the supermarket grow?
Not usually. I have found occasionally in a bag of rice, I have occasionally found one that managed to escape the polishing process and it still has the husk on it, and those might, but they're so rare that, or at least they are here, that you're not likely to get a whole lot of rice to grow that way. There's a process that they process rice with, where they knock the husk off and they tumble it to prepare it for sale. And that process renders it impossible for you to get them to sprout.
I've seen some videos. It looks like it has to be really, really wet environment to grow rice. I don't know.
I'm trying to grow some. I've got maybe 2 or 3 plants that came up out of an ounce of seeds. So far, my attempts to grow rice are not going incredibly well. But if I manage to grow at least a couple of plants and I can get the seeds out of it this year, that's seeds that are adapted to growing here, and I'll plant them again next year, and maybe 2 years from now I'll be able to produce a little bit of rice out of the yard. That would be kind of cool, I think.
That would be neat. Yeah.
We try not to eat a whole lot of grains. Maybe about 10% of our diet in grains. Yeah, but this is a nice heirloom short grain variety of rice from Japan that makes really good sushi. So.
Grains are going to be the first thing we run out of.
More than likely, yeah.
If the world does really go cuckoo, Karacha, your grains, your bread, your rices, all that pasta, all that stuff's going to be the first thing gone.
China's wheat harvest was dismal, and they've already put in orders to buy as much as they possibly can. And since most of the time farmers that are growing commercially have already got their crop sold before it's even out of the ground yet, a lot of the wheat that's been produced here in the Western Hemisphere has already been sold and it's going overseas. But Canada's wheat harvest is not going to be very good. America hasn't been growing a lot of wheat, period, since when was that? About 2005 or so. Whenever the corn subsidies came out, and people who were growing other things abandoned the crops that they were growing and said, let's cash in on growing corn because we can get the subsidy for growing corn, even if that's not where they would ordinarily want to grow based upon climate and other considerations. They grew the corn anyway because the subsidy money made up the difference that they would lose from not having the best crop that they could grow. All of that tinkering with the way farmers make their decisions about what to grow from the federal level, it's really biting us in the backside, because as it turns out, not every environment is great for growing corn. You've got a field that you can't get into at the time that you need to get into it to either plant or harvest or tend the corn. It turns into a big mess, and then we wind up with shortages. And those we've already got coming from the 2018-19 year, 2019-2020, then 2021 hit with the pandemic and shortages in equipment, repair parts, the things that we need to keep the farm machinery running. That's not up to par. There are machines out there that aren't being used because they can't be repaired, and those problems with the supply chain are getting worse and worse and worse every day. It's a little spooky.
It is.
You were talking about it earlier. You may not be able to repair your car whenever you have an accident. So drive carefully.
Yeah.
Drive carefully. Mary's truck. She rents the truck, so she doesn't have to pay for the repairs. The usual maintenance and repair. The company that she rents from does that, but they're having a hard time getting a hold of some parts. And if it's something that you cannot operate the vehicle without, then you just aren't able to use that truck to haul freight. Considering that the parts have to be hauled by a truck hauling freight, the problem winds up compounding as we go further into this.
Yeah, I actually have some
but if you're not preparing, you should be preparing, because it's a very real problem.
Definitely some real stuff going on. And they don't want to let it go. Just every time the whole thing starts to go away, they try to find some way to draw it back.
Right.
Crazy.
No, we have to have a crisis. We just have to have a crisis. Otherwise,
No, we don't. We don't have to.
like really people. Robert is saying curly dock is the most powerful plant to have, second only to comfrey. I don't know. I don't have comfrey, but I have a lot of dock. I have a lot of dock.
I couldn't get comfrey to grow, and I haven't heard of curly dock before.
Curly dock, also called yellow dock. It's you probably have seen it. It's a broadleaf. It has very broad, very dark leaves. They get probably about yay long. They look somewhat similar to comfrey, actually, the shape of the leaf. And then as they go to seed, they send up a stalk in the center, and it's usually a green cluster of flower and seed there at the middle. And then they turn a nice rust red color as the year progresses. And you'll usually find them growing in ditches, stuff like that. They're rather interesting because they like to grow in those marshy lowland areas. They produce an antifungal agent that keeps them from suffering from fungal infections from that wet environment. And of course, since they produce their own antifungal, we can benefit from that antifungal as well. So you can use the dock to fight fungus, which is why I brought it in the first place. I had some slime mold that was devouring the lawn back when I still had a lawn. I said, I'm going to get some dock and bring it in and plant it and let it grow, and maybe that'll combat the fungus. And it did. It worked perfectly. And then I decided to just get rid of the grass entirely anyway, and we kept the dock, and the dock just volunteers everywhere now. It's about, I want to say, 20 calories per 100 grams. So it's not really calorie dense, but it's loaded with vitamins and minerals. So I
love this one. You say in the weed, let the weeds grow. I have this one weed. It's real easy to pull up, but it just insists on being in my raised bed for my tomatoes. I'm going to make a video on that because I want to know what that is that's so persistent to grow. Is it something that's actually going to be useful? I'm going to make a video on it. I'm going to tag you. I'm going to tag Robert, and I want to see which one of y'all knows what it is. Maybe drops. Some of you people.
Some of these weeds
might be something useful. I might want to leave it.
Some of these weeds are as nutritious or more nutritious than the regular vegetables that we were trying to grow in the first place, which is kind of funny. But, lamb's quarter, for example, high in calories, grows easily, wants to grow everywhere. It pumps phosphorus from the subsoil, so it's good for your soil health overall. Use it as a substitute for spinach, and of course, you don't have to plant it; it'll volunteer itself. If anything, you have to occasionally remove it because it's too prolific. Dock is the same way in actuality. It's a little too prolific. Sometimes you have to remove it. That turns out the ducks love those dock seeds. So before it goes to seed and can multiply beyond what I'm comfortable with, all I have to do is cut the tops off and feed them to the ducks, and the ducks are happy.
It's awesome.
And of course, we harvest and eat the leaves early on. You can eat them. You can eat them fresh, chopped up in your salad as a salad green, or what I prefer to do with them because they are a little bit tart, bitter, not really bitter, more acidic. They have a sort of a lemony flavor. They're essentially a sorrel. Take them, chop them up, put a little bit of bacon in your pan or bacon grease if you like to buy the ends and pieces and render your bacon fat early and can the bacon grease. A little bit of bacon grease, throw your dock greens in there, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onion, toss. If you got a potato, cannellini, whatever else you got there, put that in there, crack an egg in it. Okay, you're done. This is breakfast in the skillet, and it's delicious and nutritious. And of course, the dock was free, and you didn't have to plant it.
That's what they eat on Survivor. They figure out which one of these weeds. Then the natives come in and give them lessons about what to eat. Yep. Then you see that soup pot is full of all kinds of stuff that was there all that time. They just didn't know it, and that helps them get the calories that they need.
There are so many things that are edible out there, and including inside urban landscapes in the city. For example, most people don't realize that plant right behind me. Oh, sorry, that's a daffodil. Not that plant. Sorry. They don't realize that the things like daylilies are edible.
I think zinnias are edible.
The zinnias are also edible. Yes.
Yep.
The
I
zinnias
think
are
I'll look that up just in case I ever need to know it.
Dahlias, daylilies, canna lilies, rose of Sharon. This is a flower that grows on a tree. We have 2 of those. Those are edible. It's a wide variety of edible flowers, and of course, things that you would ordinarily not think of as being food, which is kind of useful if you're worried about people coming and seeing your garden and wanting to, take things from your garden. If all they see is a bunch of flowers, they're likely to keep on walking.
Yeah, most people would.
Because if they don't realize that that's something edible, then they'll pass up on it. But daylily flowers are one of the most delicious foods I've ever found, and they produce prolifically, starting right about this week, 1st of June or so, and they'll keep on going to maybe the 1st of August, maybe the 2nd of August or so. But by then, the canna lily flowers are going to be up, and I've got another edible flower, and I can just keep on supplying myself with edible flowers throughout the growing season.
That's awesome.
And as you can tell, I do drink some beer, but I'm not starving.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of animals that eat just plants, and they're completely healthy, strong animals. So if it gets down to that point, we will. With an occasional squirrel, and we know I can catch skunks back here for sure. Don't know if I'd want to eat one, but if I have to, I guess I will.
I was looking at what Robert was saying. I'll get to that in a minute. I think I scrolled down too far.
Can you fry these?
I have found it. Okay, Robert said, if the poo hitting the whirly gig is here, early stages becoming visible to all now. It ain't getting better. Well, yeah, we've kind of been talking about this for several months now, that the economic collapse that has been speculated about, we are experiencing it. The thing is, it's happening just so slowly and so gradually that's kind of like the frog in the pot, right? It's happening, but it's not happening in the way that people imagine, right? But people would imagine, oh no, it's going to be a snap and then it's Mad Max. That's not the way it works. It's a lot more gradual. It's a lot more gradual. It's slowly happening. It's gradual, and it's happening all around us. But since it's happening so slowly, it's kind of gone under the radar, and many people haven't noticed, and they're starting to notice now, though.
Yeah, even someone like my sister, who thought I was completely nuts when I started to talk to her about all this, said, oh my gosh, the prices in the grocery store are crazy. I'm like, yeah. I think she's just now noticing it because she has groceries delivered to her apartment, didn't even realize it. You know what I mean? How do you not know? How do you not know the cost of food? And I'm okay, well, I'm glad you're finally there,
waking up to it.
Yeah.
It's nice if you've been awake early. Ideally, if people do what I'm suggesting, which is start getting rid of your lawns, start putting in gardens, real gardens. Use a lot of perennials. You can make it look pretty. You can grow lots of flowers, and also, you don't have to worry about where your next meal's coming from. And if everybody does that, I know everybody's not going to do that, but if everybody did, we wouldn't be worried at all about things like food shortages. A whole bunch of problems would be disappearing.
Yeah.
The problem with scarcity is not really that there are shortages in nature. It's just the systems that we have in place are not adequate to the real needs of society.
Yeah. Well, definitely obesity would not be a problem.
Oh yeah.
Because our meats are pumped full of hormones. So any squirrel or whatever you catch in the backyard, it's not going to have any hormones in it. That you're
true.
You're getting old school Little House on the Prairie back here. So.
This is rather interesting. It's not a problem that less developed countries have, but the more developed countries have a problem with obesity. And it comes down to the nutrient quality of the food that we're eating. You see, we grow large amounts of food, massive amounts of food, and we grow them in established farms, usually monoculture, all the same thing. And since that soil is fairly well depleted, we have to supply the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium to get it to grow to produce the food in the first place. But the organic matter is not there, and the minerals that should have been there in the soil aren't there. So the produce is made. We get the food item. Okay, there it is, and it's nice and it's big and it's juicy and it probably tastes okay. But everything that is supposed to be in it isn't in it because it wasn't in the soil. As a result, we eat it, and then we still feel hungry because our bodies are going, okay, you just consumed a lot of calories, but I still need something, and so we eat more, and then we get big because
we're not eating what we actually need.
Eating what we should be eating. We're eating a lot of calories, but we're not getting all the nutrients in our food.
Because the bad food tastes good, but it's actually not fulfilling what we actually need.
Right. And
so, I wake up and have my protein shake that has spinach in it. My belly actually stays pretty full for a while because it got a liquefied version of 12 to 15 spinach leaves in my drink. So, it actually filled my belly in a real way because I have actually sitting there and eaten the spinach just by itself, but it actually is a little bit more pleasant with a protein shake. So, but I can do it. I have done it. So I've actually washed off a carrot and just walked around the house eating it before too.
You wash your carrots?
I do wash them. Well, from the store, I do.
So sort of knock the dirt off it, and you're good to go.
Well, there's people that peel their carrots, but that
you lose vitamins in it, right? Yeah.
That layer is good for you.
Your vitamins are right there in that skin layer.
Yeah.
Potatoes, both, yeah.
When I don't have carrots from the garden, I do buy the organic carrots at Walmart, and I do wash them because I don't know who touched them, but or what, who or what. Not worried about the dirt. I'm worried more about the person or the chemical, I guess.
Yeah, well, the stuff that you got from the grocery store.
Well, hopefully, I don't know. I'm hoping I'm getting a little bit better product by it saying organic, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Billy is saying, Jason, will citrus grow in a desert? Depends upon the desert and depends upon the citrus. That sounds like a cop-out answer, but really depends upon the circumstances. Okay, so if we look at New Mexico, large portions of New Mexico get about 20 inches of rainfall per year. 20 inches of rainfall is not enough, really, but you can do things like concentrate your water on half of the land that you're going to grow on, retain your water, and keep your soil living and healthy. And some citrus can grow in that kind of environment. Some, not all, some. Ash trees are a citrus, incidentally. They're an unusual citrus. They produce tiny little fruits, but we grow a few here. Prickly ash, Szechuan and Sancho pepper specifically. Because we can't grow black pepper in Zone 7. Black pepper is a Zone 10 plant. So we grow Sancho and Szechuan pepper. They cross-pollinate each other. So I get peppercorns. And since those peppercorns have a little bit of that lemony, citrusy flavor to them, it's kind of like a lemon pepper. It has the aromatic ingredient that black pepper ordinarily has, but it doesn't have the pungency and it doesn't have the heat. So what I do with it is I throw it into our mortar and pestle whenever I'm getting ready to cook. Put a few pinches of the dried Szechuan peppers in there, and then I add a pinch of cayenne pepper and a little extra pinch of mustard seed. Crush it all up, and whenever I'm done, I've got a seasoning that has the heat, the pungency, and the aromatics of black pepper, and I grew it in my yard.
That's awesome.
I want to get some satsuma, which is like a mandarin orange that should be able to grow up here in Zone 7. So if we can grow a satsuma here in zone 7, as long as your desert climate is close to that, you might be able to get away with it there, as long as it doesn't get too cold at night.
Yeah.
That would be the big concern, is it getting too cold at night, because some deserts do not retain heat very well. Not all, but some. So like I say, it does depend upon the desert.
Did you tell me it was 75 degrees in Oklahoma earlier?
Yep. It's gotten warmer. It's 77 degrees now.
Okay, still that's really cool for June.
It is. Yeah. We're usually in the 80s and don't really get out of the 80s much from June to July, and then August we just get baked.
Yeah, it's 97 here.
And then September arrives and we go, yay!
It's going to be in the hundreds.
And then it freezes.
As far as it goes out, it's in the hundreds here. So,
but Oklahoma, you don't know what you're going to get. It's just.
I lived there for about 5.5 to 6 years in Oklahoma City, in the city, in an apartment. Yeah. Well, I am going to end the live for right now.
Yeah, we've been going for.
We go 2 hours and 15 minutes. Tell Mary hello, or if you can hear me, hello, Mary.
Hello, Mary.
hello. We talked a little bit before we went on camera. So yeah, Jason and I haven't really talked lately, so I guess we're just talking each other's ear off because haven't seen each other.
Yeah, last time I saw you was prior last year.
Yeah, the last time we actually saw each other. Yeah, but I think you came to my live a couple of times. I might have came to your live a couple of times.
New Year's Eve, I was enjoying my New Year's Eve cheer and wearing my wizard hat and having fun.
Yeah, that was. Now we're going on almost a year and a half, huh? For that one, for that particular New Year's Eve. Yes. It's been a while.
That wasn't this past year. That was your.
That was the year before. Yeah, this year I went live on Coupon Gail and had a few people in there talking. But anyway, nice hanging out with you. Thank you guys all for coming in. I'm sorry I did not see the comments. If I did not greet you, I did not intentionally ignore you. I can barely see any comments. The only time I could see them is when I'm looking at my phone. It's literally the comment that Billy made about the cloth. It's literally right there. That's like the last comment it showed.
Wow.
And that was like a long time ago. So I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with that. It's usually a little better than this, but so I'm going to go by and check out Garden State Gardener, who does his lives on Sundays. And thank you for hanging out with me, Jason, and all you guys in the chat. And see you next Sunday. I don't know who I'll have on next Sunday. I might have Leanne, possibly. We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for coming by. Bye, Jason. Bye, Mary. Bye, everybody in the chat.